Is the Talmud a collection of debates about the Bible among rabbis? Yeah, basically. So a third of the Talmud is kind of like legal debates about biblical laws. Like, for example, you'll have a biblical law that says, a biblical law that says if you kill, you should be killed, right? If you kill, you should be killed. Now, when does that apply? So then the rabbis are gonna like bring arguments from different verses, to specifically talk about. Trying to remember, right? Like, it'll bring specific verses that talks about how if it's self-defense, obviously it's not counted as murder, etc., etc. And then the rabbis kind of debate the law. That's like a third of it. A third of it is basically stories and things like that passed down like through generations. What happened to different biblical figures, to kind of like talk about different stories passed down over 1,000 years before that. And the other third of it is probably other like stories that happened to the Jewish people in that time period, pretty much. How is loan forgiveness after 7 years moral? Ask God. That's what God said. Talmud discussions are not rules to follow, but discussions to think about. Well, I think they basically try to debate and discuss what the actual rules of the Bible are, right? Because the Bible leaves certain things pretty open-ended, and some people might think that there are contradictions. How exactly you institute the Bible laws are kind of the crux of a lot of the debates of the Talmud. Like, for example, when it says an eye for an eye, does it literally mean you poke the eye out of a guy that pokes the eye out of somebody? So the Talmud actually argues that that's not the case, and an eye for an eye means the value of an eye, and it's monetary payment. That's like the Talmud's argument, and it brings like a whole bunch of logical proofs as to why they came to that conclusion. Stuff like that. Anywho, I like the Talmudic interpretation of it better, but that doesn't necessarily make it right. Well, if you heard all of their proofs, you would probably think that it is actually right, because it brings like 5 different reasons based on Bible verses why it interprets it that way. How do you define how much an eye is worth? Fantastic question. Guess who discusses it? That's right. The rabbis debate that in 2,000-year-old Talmud. I'm really glad you asked. Fantastic point. I could explain it to you if you want, but it'll take time. It'll take a minute to actually explain that one. All right. Yes, explain. No, that's gonna be too long. It'll be too long. We'll do that another time. Which passage tells us the Jews rule the world? I don't know, man. That's in Candace Owens' extra Bible DLC. I don't know, man. That's not canon. It's not canon, bro. Oh, God. All right.